What's up, everyone? I'm Coach D. So yesterday I was asked about my political leanings. Basically asked why I believe the things I do, why I live the way I live today, and why I support progressive politics. And, one of the things I often have talked about on this channel is that growing up in a small conservative community, especially as a black person, you sometimes find yourself just trying to survive, trying to fit in. And there was a point during high school and going into college that I aligned myself with fiscal conservatism. And the reason why was because I really believed this lie that the Republican Party has perpetuated on us, that they believe in fiscal responsibility. And that was, a smart thing to me, like, hey, we should live within a budget and all that type of stuff. As I got older, I started to realize when Republicans say that they're fiscally responsible, what they're really saying is they're going to take away from poor people to give to rich people. When they try to balance a budget, it's by hurting marginalized communities. And so then I realized, well, the only thing Republicans really do is hate people. That's it. Like, their fiscal responsibility was about taking away from people that they don't like. And so I couldn't align myself with that. There was nothing about balancing a budget that would make me want to align myself with the Republican Party. And the budget that passed last night proves to you that when Republicans talk about fiscal responsibility and balancing a budget, they want to do that on the backs of working class Americans. This budget that was passed last night, make no mistake about it, is going to affect a lot of people. We're talking about billions of dollars in cuts to Medicaid and SNAP benefits. Republicans and MAGAs, these things are going to affect your parents and grandparents. This is not just going to affect Democrats. And it makes me wonder, how do people reconcile? How do you call yourself a Christian, for instance, and reconcile with taking away from the poor? Like, that is not a tenet of Christianity. So I'm wondering how people can sit in church, praise a God that talked about feeding the poor and helping the poor, helping marginalized communities, all while voting for a party that is taking away from marginalized people to give to rich people. How have Republicans somehow convinced MAGAs and other working class people that they're doing these things for them? You understand that right now you're voting for a party that is going to take away the ability for an elderly person to see a doctor, the ability for a family to have food, to give it to people so that they can buy one more car, one more mansion, one more boat, or whatever. I don't understand that. I'm trying to wrap my head around how working class and poor people have voted against themselves. These tax benefits, these tax cuts that Donald Trump is proposing, he sat in Mar-a-Lago and told a bunch of his guests, rich people like himself, I'm going to give you guys a bunch of tax cuts. When he went to rallies where there were a bunch of working class people, he never said to you guys, I'm going to give you a bunch of tax cuts. He may have said, I'm going to extend my tax cuts from 2017, but those tax cuts never benefited you. Those tax cuts are benefiting the top 1%. They're not benefiting working class people. How do you consider yourself fiscally responsible when fiscal responsibility to Republicans means taking from poor people? This $800 billion in cuts are going to affect Republicans, Democrats, progressives, conservatives, MAGAs, and liberals. They're not specific to Democrats. So I want Republicans and MAGAs to ask themselves, when these things start hitting them, when it starts to make its way to your doorstep, when you start hearing from your parents and grandparents who are like, I can't go to the doctor anymore, I have to pay these huge fees now. When you're hearing from your neighbors and your relatives saying, they're not providing food for our children anymore. They're not giving me the benefits that I had that was allowing me to go to college, allowing our kids to go to school, what was going to lead to me being a productive member of society, that's gone now. I want you to ask yourself, is this really what you voted for? Because I got to think the answer is no. Because just like we're seeing people in the find out phase of finding out that Donald Trump saying he's going to cut the Department of Education and all of these other federal agencies, that Republicans and MAGAs are being affected by that as well, to the point where now we're seeing MAGA saying, hey, Donald Trump, I voted for you. Why is my job being cut? Hey, I voted for these Republicans. Why am I being cut? Same thing is about to happen with these benefits. There are going to be Republicans and MAGAs out there who are going to be saying, wait a second, why is my Medicaid being cut? I voted for Donald Trump. Why is my family having their food stamps cut? We voted for Donald Trump. This is going to happen. I just want you to ask yourself, if you're out there and you consider yourself Republican, MAGA, Christian, how is taking away from the people that your God and your Jesus helped the most, how is that what you believe in? How is that what you're fighting for? How is that what you're voting for? I'm really trying to understand that. Because right now in this country, what we have is a Republican Party that wants to do nothing for the poor and do everything for the rich. That's it. Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.